Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's the first Friday of April. April Fool's Day. I am pregnant. No, I'm joking. Welcome, ladies and gents. It's the prodigious, the Proms Professor at Proclamation News and Gavins. We're going to look inside UK cars today. So, think safety, think first. Do not enter your vehicle under sleep deprivation, under influence of alcoholism and narcotics. Check your engine oil, water, cool tank. Make sure it's topped up to maximum level. Check your PSI limits. Make sure you got tax, insurance, driving license before entering the vehicle. Making sure you and passengers have seatbelts on. Babies have seatbelts adjacent to the car seat. Check for further road safety signs, further police instructions. Check for road workers. Make sure not leering from behind the fence onto the road as you go through the roadworks. Driving vigilantly. Checking your centre mirror, wing mirror before acting into a safe, sufficient directional choice. Ladies and gents, it's Proclamation News and Gavins back with a brand new edition on a Friday evening. Let's look at the incidents today inside the UK. We always look in the south east region. Why? Because that's where the capital of England is. Anchors is not far away from my constituency, if I'm quite honest. On the A12, in between where I live and Ipswich, on the A12, queuing traffic on the A12 northbound from junction 31 B1070 East Burgolt to junction 32A Capel Road, Belstead, Copdog Village, congestion to Langham. Travel time is 20 minutes. A lane is closed for water main work in the construction area. 1st of April, 20:40 p.m. Stevenage. Road closed due to debris on road. An unsafe building on Swingate both ways between A602 Lytton Way and Westgate Shopping Centre. The building under demolition collapsed on Tuesday 22nd. Swingate West and Westgate car parks are also closed at 10:47 a.m. reported. North London on the A406 North Circular westbound from A12 Chingford Road, Crooked Billet interchange to Great Cambridge Road underpass. Is reported at 3:40. Very slow traffic. East of London, queuing traffic on the A102 northbound at Blackwall Tunnel, congestion to Blackwall Lane, 3:38 p.m. It's congestion. West London, A406 North Circular both ways at A40 Hanger Lane, Dietary System, 10:51 a.m. first reported. Oh, my shoulder. Oxford. A40, partially blocked and slow traffic due to crash on A40 at B449. Incham roundabout, on the roundabout, 20:40 p.m. first morning. So we've, as you'll know, it's April and the energy prices are now soaring through the roof. Yep. Everyone's like, yeah, I know. But what's happening in October? They rise again. They rise and rise again. It's going to be absolutely astonishing. I don't know how people are going to survive to live. Warning of fresh energy bill shock in October as prices rise again. People have been warned to brace for another huge rise in energy bills when the next cap takes effect in October. This could add another £629 a year to a typical bill, on top of Friday's unprecedented £700 a year rise, says energy consultancy Cornwall Insight. The expected rise in bills, just as colder weather kicks in, has prompted calls for fresh government support to those struggling to pay. Energy prices have been affected by the Ukrainian war and pressure on suppliers. The most up-to-date prediction from Cornwall Insight would, if accurate, push annual energy bills for a household using a typical account of gas and electricity up to 2,600 from October. A typical bill is expected to fall back to the current level in summer 2023, although longer term forecasts are tricky. Bill Bullen, the boss of Utility, warned that elderly people and children were at serious risk over the winter because of lack of heating. How are they? Don't worry about the people who suffer in secondary rainhouse disease either. We are going to see an extra 500 or 600 added to the bill in October, and frankly, the Chancellor is going to have to fund that entirely for low income households, he told the BBC. We won't be able to afford this problem away for everybody, but for customers who can't respond to that price increase, that's where the help needs to be targeted. The warning comes on top of a huge rise in what energy suppliers can charge customers from Friday. The £693 a year rise in a typical energy bill. The bill will affect 18 million households with 4.5 million customers on repayment meters facing an even bigger increase of £708 a year. At the same time, a host of bill hikes takes effect with council tax, water bills and car tax gone up for some on April the 1st. Minimum wage rates are rising, which, along with some financial support from the government, is partially softening the blow. Prices in general rising at their fastest rate in for 30 years, but the sudden increase in the cost of energy is the most significant for individuals. 4 in 10 bill payers have been finding it very somewhat difficult to afford energy costs. The Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, said the country is facing the biggest single shock for energy prices since the 1970s. It is the largest increase by far in the energy regulator Ofgem's price cap since it was introduced. The caps, set every 6 months for England, Wales and Scotland, is designed to protect domestic customers from volatility of wholesale energy prices. Chris O'Shea, the executive of Centrica, which owns the UK's largest supplier, British Gas, said its business was supporting struggling customers and was giving grants to those most in need. We'd love to do more. The reality is that for a retail energy company, the market has gone through quite a change, and profits have reduced quite substantially, he told BBC's Big Green Money show. However, he accepted that profits have risen sharply for the heavily taxed exploration arm of the business. The energy price cap has risen by nearly £700 annual bill for a typical household on the price cap, the dual fuel tariff paying by direct debit. The Office of National Statistics said that low earners, renters, parents, people with disabilities, unemployed people, and divorcees were least able to afford a bill shock. The government has said it was taking decisive action to help people with the cost of living, including £200 reduction of energy bills in October, which need to be paid back in instalments, and a £150 reduction in cab tax bills for 80% of bill payers. Speaking to BBC Breakfast, Sir Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, branded the government's response as pathetic. He accused the government of forcing people to choose between heating their homes or eating. He said that the Labour Party would introduce a one-off windfall tax on the profits of oil and gas companies and use the money to help households struggling to cope with the rise in energy bills. But Chancellor Rishi Sunak told the BBC newscast, "I'm confident in what we've done. I know it's tough for people. We're facing a very difficult situation with the price of things going up, and I want to do what we can to ameliorate some of that. But I'm always honest with people that we can't ameliorate all of it, sadly." So we're going to have a short break, guys. I'm not going to be going too far away from you lovely people, that's for sure. So make sure you stay tuned with Proclamation, News and Gatherings. Just a short break with you beautiful people. Just have a quick bit of LBC. We know you like it, I like it, we all like it, and we love proclamation news and gathered. Engaging with the audience is very, very important. So stay tuned. I'm in a lot of pain with my shoulder today, guys. I'll tell you that much. Pain is not the way. Pain is not the way. Pain. Ladies and gents, we're going to move on to the show. Exit man says life was destroyed after neighbour attacked him with a drill. He was attacked by his neighbour with an electric drill. Lloyd Russell was attacked by Eddie Chunchi in August 2020. Lloyd Russell said his life changed forever when his neighbour drilled into his skull in an attack at his home in Harlow. Essex police were called out to the 34-year-old's home in Church End. Reports of disturbance where they have found the attacker, Eddie Chunchi, 45, with a drill in his hand, and Lloyd on the floor with a 5 centimetre hole drilled into his brain. Chunchi claimed self-defence and that he hadn't meant to hurt anyone, but was jailed for 4.5 years in October 2021. After he was found guilty of GBH without intent, but not guilty of GBH with intent. However, Lloyd says that he suffered severe long-term effects that have changed his life. The horrific injuries left Lloyd in a coma for 3 weeks, and he says he suffered a range of long-term neurological, motor and emotional impairments as a result of severe brain and eye trauma. These include right-sided hemiparesis and double vision. Lloyd said, "Suddenly I start realising that I had a brain injury. My life has changed from August the 3rd. I was born again. Everything that I used to do, I can't do. That includes my house. For what? Nothing if I had injured myself. Even though I would be annoyed, I'll be able to live with it. If it was serious, because from 2020 I've cried every day. What did I do to deserve this? He could have punched me. He could have kicked me. He could have done anything. Isn't it amazing that he gets a nice write-up in the paper, gets drilled in the head? No disrespect, I take my hat off to him. Everyone deserves a bereavement. I got hit in the head with a hammer, baseball bat, stamped on by 15 men. It's not in the paper. Nothing was written in the paper. I didn't get a write-up like this. It's affected me since the age of 18 till I'm 39 this year. So yeah, exactly. It's affected me for more years, 19 years. Despite 6 months of rehabilitation, Lloyd claims he sadly could not return to his job as a freelance signalling engineer due to serious injuries he sustained from the assault. In addition, he says he is currently homeless with his dog, an 18-month puppy, because he claims he is forced to rent out his property as he could not afford to live in it. Lloyd had a troubled early start in London as he left school in Year 9 with barely any qualifications. He says he was given a jail sentence in 2010 for conspiracy of supply of Class A drugs, as he served 27 months before being released, even though he says he was constantly rejected due to his criminal record. With the help of a probation officer, he managed to get a job at a railway personal track safety (PTS) labourer in 2014, where he said he worked his way up. Rail worker says he became a highly qualified signalling technician during that time and managed to buy his first home in Harlow. Lloyd said life was blessed for him at the point until August 3rd, 2020. Lloyd that he bumped into the Chunchi at the bottom of the stairs and asked questions about some late night DIY work that occurred the night before and kept residents awake. Lloyd claims he had never had a problem with the Chunchi and said they rarely interacted with each other until the afternoon of the attack. Lloyd said, I think to myself, Lloyd, why did you have to go to speak to him? Why did you not go home? Because if I did not speak to him, I would have not to go through all of this. But I said to myself, well, that is just me. Things don't make sense to me after a year, Lloyd added. It's all such a blur. When I woke up, I thought I got injured at work. Everything was such a blur because it was nothing, he said. I'm scared with life. My life is messed up. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, Lloyd says he could have not have had any friends and family at the hospital and to go through his recovery alone. Lloyd thought his mobility would start to return with a bit of exercise and he would be back to work by Christmas. But he quickly realised that was not possible. A 5 centimetre drill went in his left eye and deep into his basal ganglia and part of the brain that is primarily responsible for motor control, executive function, behaviour and emotions. He says that he sustained cranial fourth nerve palsy, double vision and right-sided hemiparesis, in addition of suffering from emotion dysregulation, post-traumatic anemia and depression. Lloyd also claims he experiences communication difficulties and has lost so much weight he doesn't think he'll get it back. Lloyd added, I'm only normal because I function, but realistically, if you ask me if I'm normal, I'm not normal. The construction worker endured a 5-month rehabilitation program. He spent 2 months at Addenbrooke's Hospital, Cambridge, until October 2020 before being transferred to rehabilitation until a Hamilton Hospital in Hackney until January 2021. Lloyd and his wife, Lloyd said his life was turned upside down after he was released from rehabilitation unit in 2021. He went to live with his girlfriend for around 7 months before they split up. He said it destroyed me. I'm scared with my life. My life is messed up. I'm homeless. I don't work. I can't really move. I don't have a girlfriend. I've got no one. Meet me halfway because I do not deserve this. When Lloyd heard a chance he was given 4.5 years, the same jail sentence received for a drug supply charge, he says that he felt let down. He said, so my life has been destroyed. He gets 4.5 years. I've got 4.5 years sentence with conspiracy to supply. How are you giving him the same sentence as me? I need to walk away from knowing, even though he has done this to me, I've got a second chance, but now I'm just going down because I'm homeless. Sadly, Lloyd says he does not have the support network he can turn to. The 34-year-old said, when I come to hospital, I did not want to get into contact with people. I wanted to get better. Seeing me like this is hard for them to get their head around. It is deeper than that because it's not about money, it's my life. Everything I've worked hard for has been taken away from me for no reason. People have moved on with their life, but I have not moved on. I could talk about the August 3rd, 2020 like it was yesterday. Lloyd also says his experience has made him more aware of the impact of brain trauma. Before the attack, he says, he wouldn't care, but now calls for people to learn more about how he feels. People do not fully understand the severity of the damage it has on someone's life, he said. There are many people that have been through what I've been through and would not have survived. I do not need emotional help, I need help. He's shown very little remorse. At the time of Achunchi's sentencing, investigator officer Detective Constable Alana McCreef from the Harlow CID said, Eddie Achunchi is a volatile man whose actions have made impact on his victim. He's shown little remorse for his actions and tried to persuade officers he's acting in self-defense. This is quite ironical here. The man that's in charge of your wages, the man that's in charge of the money, the exchequer, Rishi Sunak, should be called Richie. In Fosse's tech firm that part-owned Chancellor Rishi Sunak's wife, closing Russia office. Indian tech giants in Fosse, in which UK Chancellor Rishi Sunak's wife owns shares thought to be worth more than 400 million, is closing its office in Russia. Sources told the BBC that the company was trying to find a replacement roles abroad for staff employed in Moscow. Fosse had been under pressure to seize its Russian operation following the invasion of Ukraine, and Mr. Sunak has faced questions over his wife, Akshata Murthy's shares in the firm, which was founded by her father. Earlier, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer told Sky News it was important for the Chancellor to reveal whether his family had been benefiting from the money made in Russia when the UK government has put in place sanctions on firms and individuals following the invasion of Ukraine. Mr. Sunak told BBC's Newcast podcast this week that we have found criticism of his wife very upsetting, adding that he understood how film star Will Smith had felt when his own wife had been mocked by comedian Chris Rock at the Oscars for a medical condition. But joked, at least I didn't get up and slap anybody, which is good. Fosse, one of India's biggest companies, with a presence in about 50 countries, set up an engineering centre in Moscow in 2016. It is thought that up to 100 people there employed. After Russia invaded Ukraine, many global IT firms suspended operations in the country, but Fosse had kept what is called a small team based out in Russia that serviced some of the global clients until now. We do not have any active business relationship with the local Russian enterprise, he added. In a recent statement, a spokesperson for Fosse declined to comment on the decision to close the Moscow office or what its future involvement with companies operating in Russia will be. Ms. Murthy's shareholding of 0.9% in Fosse is estimated to be worth more than 400 million. A spokesperson for Mr. Rishi Sunak has previously said neither she nor any members of the family have any involvement in the operational decisions of the company. But Labour and Liberal Democrats have insisted the Chancellor has questions to answer about whether his family benefits from the shareholding at a time when he is calling UK businesses to divest from Russia. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer told Sky News it was in the public interest to do so. He added, I'm not attacking their family, but I do not know if the Chancellor's household is benefiting from the money from a company that's investing in Russia. When the government is saying quite rightly that nobody should be doing that. The Chancellor told the newscast that, being in public life, it was himself fair game for criticism, but it was very upsetting and I think wrong for the people to try and come at my wife. Fosse's, which has offices in London, Edinburgh and Nottinghamshire, announced last year that I was hiring 1,000 extra staff in the UK. India's government, unlike the UK's, has not condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine and did not vote against it at the United Nations Security Council. Well, business with the Russians, is that probable or not? Or is that a complete scrutiny? Many people say scrutiny, but who's to say that it's scrutiny and who's to say that's not, or just business? Who are we to judge?
But what we do also want to be careful of is that it doesn't become a revenue stream or a cash cow.
Okay. Can I actually just find you, the Evening Standard here in London has published a story. They've got figures which they've obtained from the London Fire Brigade, which shows they were called to 100 fires, 104 fires involving batteries, imploding batteries, involved with 130 e-scooters in 1 year. Are they safe?
They are safe, but one of the things that happens is without regulation, which is the situation we're in now, without legalization, you're not getting the element of regulation. So the minute we start to legalize and say, yep, this is an industry that we want to support here in the UK, you then start getting all of the positive benefits of nurturing that industry in the UK, such as maybe possibly UK companies that can come in and implement, safety standards that we have here, which are, some of the best in the world. Right now, we're getting a lot of people who are getting their devices, from abroad, and we're not always sure, you can't always be sure what the safety standards are when you're sourcing devices, abroad like that. But that's all due partially to the fact that we don't have legalization in place. So I think it's almost turned on its head, the situation. The closer we get to legalization or to legalizing, the devices with some element of regulated use, I think we'll start seeing a lot of the benefits that come with having an industry that's regulated.
All right, that's Michael Quintana, Head of Communications and Innovation at ridables.org.uk. Thanks for coming on. He promotes e-scooters. Well, over to you. What do you think of them? Are they a lethal menace? 103 e-scooters and e-bike bleeders in a year. That's just in London. That's according to the London Fire Brigade. We know there have been a number of accidents involving e-scooters. Many of them are not regulated. Many of them are being sold illegally. You see people riding them on the pavement. They're a wretched pain, aren't they? But if they're riding on the road, they're illegal. They're illegal if they ride on the pavement. What's the answer? Should we encourage them, regulate them, tax them, insure them? Do tell me what you think. 0345 6060 973. Text you at 84850. You tweet at LBC. Are they the answer to the crisis on our roads? The roads are too congested. There's too much pollution. These things are nippy, quick, or are they lethal? What am I worried about them? One came up behind me the other day. I hardly heard a thing. I turned around just in time. I thought I was going to be mugged. Remember, we went through that phase where people were using motor scooters and motorbikes to mug people, particularly coming out of tubes and railway stations late at night, not putting their lights on, cruising. Are they potentially a mugger's charter? You tell me. 0345 6060 973. I'm Andrew Pearce, it's LBC. Time is 8:18.
This is LBC.
Vodafone is committed to connecting thousands of Ukrainian refugees with data, calls and texts through our Everyone.Connected program. Everyone needs connection. For the people of Ukraine, it matters now the most. If you're a charity working with Ukrainian refugees, search Everyone.Connect.
Thanks, ladies and gents. Moving on, proclamation news and Garrett's last segment of the evening. Shocking news as a police constable in Essex, Colchester-educated former chief constable found dead at Leicestershire home weeks after retirement. Do you know what? He served over 30 years in the police force. Simon Cole was found dead in Leicestershire home. A former chief constable had died just weeks after time for over 30 years of police service. Essex. Ex-Leicestershire Chief Constable Simon Cole, 55, was found dead at his home in the same county this morning. Today, a former police officer went to school on Colchester as well as studying institutions in Northampton and Leicestershire. Mr. Cole joined Hampshire Police in 2003 as Assistant Chief Constable, where he led and delivered neighbourhood policing. He became Deputy Chief Constable in 2008 before returning to Leicestershire as Chief Constable in 2010. Now, he sadly passed away. The incident has been referred to the coroner for further investigation. Temporary Chief Constable Rob Nixon said, "It's hard to put into words how devastating this news is for the whole entire force, who loved and respected Simon. Our hearts go out to his family at this difficult time, and we will support them as much as we can. We want to respect their privacy and the coroner's process, and would ask that the public and media to do so too. We are offering support to our staff and those who work closely with Simon." I know Simon had a great impact on men's communities in Leicester, Leicestershire, and Rutland, and his death will be a great loss to many of the people we work with. And all we can do is put together and mourn the loss of a greatly respected man. In 2020, Simon was awarded the Sir Robert Peel Medal by the Institute of Criminology at Cambridge University. The Sir Robert Peel Medal is awarded annually for outstanding leadership in the evidence-based policing. COVID meant that it was actually presented in 2021. He was a keen sportsman, chairing the Leicestershire Police Sports and Leisure Section, Force Benevolent Fund, and Police UK, National PSUK, lawn tennis, cricket, and rugby sanctions locally. Simon represented the Force and the Strategic Partnership Board, working with partners from all over the Force area to reduce crime and anti-social behaviour. Hats off to Essex Police for all they do, all the police force globally. You know that? Simon Cole will be sadly missed. Let me assure you. All we can do is give our condolences. He's only trying to put baked beans and toast on the table, just like all of us.
Official trial zone. Transport for London banned private scooters on its network after one burst into flames at Parsons Green Tube Station. Look, I think it's pretty worrying. And I know people are going to say, look, they're green and they're great. But look, London Fire Brigade in 6 months, called to 130 e-scooter and e-bike blazes. Sorry, in a year, in a year. That's a lot. That's where the batteries have gone up in flames. They've got a picture here in the Standard showing the remains of a Tottenham kitchen after a battery fire. You went to bed, the battery caught flame, the kitchen burnt down. You might be in trouble with your insurance there, because if the scooter isn't insured, and in the trial areas they are insured, but if it's not in a trial area, you're not going to be insured for that. You're going to be in a lot of financial trouble here. That's why they're a bit anxious about the explosion in use of these things. They don't know what to do they? They see kids on e-scooters charging up and down. It's not what to do, but they shouldn't be on the road, illegal, unless they're in a trial area. And they certainly shouldn't be on the pavement because they're disruptive, just like those wretched cyclists who seem to think pavements are for them as well as pedestrians. What do you think? 0345 6060 973. Dave's in Harrow. Dave, what do you think?
Hi, Andrew. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like all things, that they have a downside.
Yeah.
I do think, like the same with fireworks, probably wonder how many places they've been called out for fireworks today. There seems to be loads of fireworks around these days. But hey ho, nobody's calling to ban fireworks. Maybe there are some, but in the scheme of things, I think we've got to put the negatives in the context of the positives, and I do think, as you call it before the break, saying, that what is the problem in this country? It's like with the internet as well. It seems to me that the legal system is catch up. I mean, what he's saying, until they're legalised, I mean, what road do we want to go down? Do we want to sort of condemn them like they're on the black market drugs? I think that would be a great indictment, really, what part of anything else in this country. I mean, in the context of, and I do think what's really lacking, Andrew, is I mean, I don't have any problem with e-scooters. I don't use e-scooters to cycle, but there is this issue of safety aspect. I mean, as there is with cars as well, which cause a heck of a lot more accidents and fatalities from these things.
I guess it's the chaos around it, Dave. You see them on the paved road and you think, why are the police allowing that? And then you see them on the pavement. I know the police have got far too much to do, and the last thing they need to do is get involved in all of this, but I've got to make their mind up. Put the whole country into a test zone and get on with it, or not, because, I mean, at the moment, I said to one lad who nearly crashed into me here in Leicester Square leaving the studio last week, he said, oi, it's legal. It's legal. This is a test area. Well, it isn't, because he was on the pavement and nearly knocked me over. I saw one of my colleagues the other day, he's got a broken arm, courtesy of an e-scooter, crashing into him, didn't stop. I know he gave him a phone number, wrong one, no insurance.
It does sound on a few fronts. I mean, perhaps these things. Where's the Office of Trading and all this? Perhaps there does seem to be some regulation around the sale of these things. That they are fixed. The main problem I see is that just these things Oh, like bicycles. Where are you supposed to cycle these days? They've ripped up lanes, because basically the car is king.
Dave, they have not ripped them up in London, let me tell you. They're everywhere cycling. On about, man. They're everywhere, and they're not used as much as they should be, in my view.
They have, I think they're saying that. I think they're going to reinstate one in Kensington High Street. I saw it this today, but are we just going to say that the car is king here, and if you want to be healthy, then you've got to live in Holland or Singapore or somewhere else? Because I really think pollution is at rock levels in London. We've got a climate change emergency, but more importantly, people need to be able to get from A to B. We're completely ignoring the elephant in the room, which is the congestion charge, or the actual cost of congestion.
Yeah, huge.
Everybody actually top up how long they spend just sitting there like a caged hen in traffic.
Yeah, I hear you, Dave. Dave doesn't pretend to be one. Here's the other thing about what I've got from that. Government's just got to get their act in order. Look, your company can directly purchase a bike for employees and reclaim VAT if applicable.